keep flowing and flowing, rolling, moving, whatever you want to do. And that's about it.
Rolling.
Alrighty. We're in.
We're on.
We're in. We're on.
Yeah. You're going to give it a big YG, are we?
Are we going to go for it?
I reckon we should.
I don't know what I've got here. Well, yes, guys, on 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yes, guys. Here we are with the man himself.
I can't believe I've made that a thing.
Yeah. It's great. Isn't it mad? Like, it must be an interesting feeling to go to all of the different barber bashes and all the different events, and everyone just comes to you and says that, and they just know you so much now from your Instagram content.
I just don't want it to become like a Rodney Plonker thing. You know, he's still that Nicholas Lyndhurst still probably gets called that now. So it's I want it to maybe taper out before it becomes too annoying. And also let the yes guys have their yes guys back. It's not my thing. You know,
I didn't invent it.
Exactly. So yeah, it'd be nice to. Yeah, it's all good fun though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I think that was one thing that when we first came across your page, I thought it was fucking brilliant. I was like, this is brilliant. This is exactly what the industry needs, just to like lighten things up a little bit, make it a bit fun, bring some personality out. And I think, you know what, like all of the yes guys, they've taken it really well. Like,
yeah,
they're all laughing at it, they're all finding it funny, and that's what it should be. You know, it's not like a dig. It's just a funny observation.
That's literally what all my content is. It's just like it's an observation. I'm not aiming it at anyone in particular. It's not these videos are just how I feel in the time. So they're not even actually me. They're just an extension of what I'm thinking in that moment. I'm like, that might make a few people smile, so I'm going to make that video. So I'm not like, these are my views, that's it, they're concrete, they're set in stone. I just think, oh, that's quite funny. Like, I wonder how many other people are, like, some of them would appear that I come across that I don't love cutting hair, or I get annoyed easily. Like, I'm completely in love with my job. And I think in every stage of life, human behavior is just funny. Like, you see people do funny stuff all the time just by being. Like, you can laugh at someone crossing the road because they don't do it properly. So if you make that note and you go, that's going to make someone laugh, because that's my aim. I like making people laugh. I'm good at cutting hair. I'm good at talking to people, good at looking after people. But also, I love making people laugh. So how can I like put that into my work? And that was, what you're seeing now is the outcome of like what I thought would be my best contribution to the industry.
Love it.
Well, I think it's working.
Yeah, it feels like it's working. Having people come up to you and ask you for photos is just, of course I love it. Like, I love the attention. And I'm like, oh God, I think you're saying hi. But I'm like, yes, good. But it's sweet. And then you make a connection there, and you don't know what, at the moment you meet someone, you don't know what that's going to open up to become. Like, it's just, like you're planting a seed, and some of them won't go on to anything, but actually you might get to a point where you get invited to a show in another place, or they're like, I don't know. It's just, it's cool to meet people in the same environment as you, because you can get a lot out of it more than just a selfie with me.
Totally, man. Yeah, there's something about saying yes, pardon the pun of the yes guys, but like, there is something about saying yes and going to these events and showing up, meeting people, plant seeds that, you just never know. You become front of mind then for different opportunities, and that's pretty cool. Right? You went to Ireland, you're with your missus in Ireland, you got to see Ireland for a few days. It's nice to be able to do more than just being in the barbershop.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Mate, it's so cool that you can be a barber, you can cut hair, and you can do these things. You can go to these events, you can travel with it. The fact that you guys live on the other side of the planet and are here just enjoying your life. Like, I'm sure it's got its highs and lows, and you're very busy, but like the fact that you get to do this just by being a barber is crazy. Like, I remember going to, it would have been Barber Connect or Salon International. They were the two shows I went to first. And I remember going in, having not much of an expectation of what the industry can look like. You know, as far as I was concerned, you could just cut hair and post cool videos. But I get to this place and there's stuff going on stage, there's all this creative work going on, there's crazy colours, there's just competitions, and I'm like, what have I just walked into? Like, it's fresh out of college, and all of a sudden I'm in a room full of people that are like, in my opinion, there were some like Premier League footballers there. Do you know what I mean? Like they were the top of their game, they're the best in their business. And you have access to them by just being in the same room as them. So it's quite a rare thing to be in the room with someone who's the best in the world at what they do.
Totally.
And you can just walk up to them and say hello, and like, yeah. So it just blew my head off. And then I was thinking, like, man, how do I get there? How do I become like a stage barber or cutter stand? And that's basically hasn't been my sole driver. It hasn't been my main focus. Like, I've had other goals along the way, but it's always been a dream since learning to cut hair, that I think I can give more value to the world than just to the guys that sit in my chair.
I love it, and I think we've both been there as well. Like, both of us have been there. We've had a similar type of trajectory in terms of like going to shows, seeing it as inspiration. It's probably one of the things that really got me over the hump after my cycling career. Because after that, I was a bit like down in the dumps, like, oh fuck, I just dedicated my whole
How
life.
good were you? Were you doping and stuff? You got to that stage?
Yeah. No, I wasn't that friends. You know, it's funny.
Hides his Livestrong band.
I wasn't even good enough to dope. Like, you have to be good enough before they even take that risk. Yeah.
Knock on your hotel door, like,
Yeah.
buddy, you've made it.
Yeah. But I didn't get that far. I was like, if you were to look at it from a football stance, I was like in the Championship.
Nice.
And Premier League was the next thing. But sometimes we played in the FA Cup, you know. There was races where we did go and do like Premier League level races. So I got to race with like some of my heroes, some of the people that were on my wall as a kid, you know.
You had blokes on bikes on your wall as a kid.
I did.
No judgment here.
No, absolutely not. When I first started in the industry and I saw people doing the stage work stuff, I came across, I think it was the Barber Bash was one of the first people that I came across. And Neil, yesterday, who we met, Neil Toner, the guy with the beautiful face.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. What a guy.
Yeah, so him.
Stunner.
Josh, Menspire, Ryan Cullen at the time. Like, so many people, and I was like, whoa, there's more to this. Because I just watched my mother cutting hair in the salon for 30 years and never really get involved in any extracurricular activities outside of just her salon. And she did great in her salon and all that, but she didn't do any of that stuff. So I was thinking, oh wow, like, there's more to this than just cutting people's hair and going home and going out for food and going out for drinks and repeat. You know, there's more things that we can do and expose ourselves to more things. But what I'm loving seeing in your journey right now is like, you've got there in a really authentic way. Like, the way you're doing the stage work now is very much you. Like, you brought your dad on and you cut his hair. You know, yesterday you had your brother, you're cutting his hair. Yeah. And you're just bringing your message through what you're doing, rather than doing all of the rabbits out of hats and jazz hands. It's like, okay, Ardy's just going on stage and it's Ardy.
Yeah. Well, I think the point of that is, like, firstly, this is like, for me, cutting on stage is like that's like a landmark in my career, something I really wanted to do, and then getting an opportunity to tick that box. I thought, I was invited to the Wales Barber Expo first, which was I was main stage on that, and then Irish Expo, I was invited to that next. Sean invited me to that, and then Gary, about 3 weeks before the London show, invites me to that with a, like, not on stage, so it's just like a cutting role, and I'd never done any stage work before, so I was pretty nervous about, like, I had like pre-match nerves, you know, like not knowing what that uncomfort was going to feel like. And I cut a stranger. I never met my model before.
Model. Yeah, we like that one.
And yes, I'd never met him before, and I had to cut his hair for the first time in an environment that was new as well. And it was amazing to like show myself that I could do it. But afterwards I was like, why am I trying to do the best haircut in this room when I know that my biggest strength isn't my ability to cut hair? And on the train home, I like wrote some stuff down, and I was like, why don't I use these stage opportunities as like a celebration for me personally, as me ticking off a box in my career? So the reason I asked my dad to cut his hair is because I don't know how many times I'm going to get to do this. So why not share that moment with the person that loves me more than anyone in the room ever would, you know? And it was just a nice way of taking the pressure off like my first time on stage, rather than cutting a new bit of hair and trying to make the haircut really good while everyone's looking at that. I thought, fuck that. I don't even want to. It was what you said to me at the show when I saw you dancing around, not cutting any hair. You're like, it's so little about cutting hair, do as much prep work as before. And I thought, yeah, like that's going to be better for me and for everyone in that room if I'm not making my presentation about the haircut. If I'm just going, I feel like I'm an example of how someone could be themselves online and still be successful and still be asked to go to these shows. I'm not being asked to cut hair because I'm a LaMonica or an Alan Beak or a Hayden Cassidy. I'm being asked to cut hair because like I'm a big friendly face that's trying to make people laugh, and like I think I'm a good addition to the room.
100%.
So that was kind of cool how it all worked out. And then I felt so confident in Ireland, man. I don't know whether it's because I saw that MF Doom had played at the same venue as us before, and I saw a picture of him rapping on stage. I'm like, this is so cool, I get to do it. So I came out a bit pumped, and then I was like, for the first time in my life, I felt completely confident with who I was in a room full of people that I felt, even if they weren't thinking it, I told myself they all believe in what I'm doing. They're all here to see me. So what can I leave this room? Like, how can I make this space better? And if I ever get an opportunity to cut hair on a stage again, mic'd up, I'm going to continue to show people that the most important thing when being successful is by being yourself.
100%. I think that is needed now more than ever in the hair industry.
In the world.
But like we really see it on steroids in the hair industry.
Yeah.
Because
it's because we're looking at it there. It's our focus point. So we see it more because it's our obsession, right?
Yeah.
But it happens everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have that conversation, don't we? I think we need to zoom out sometimes and realise it's a thing. It's a people thing.
Yeah.
It's a humans thing in general. Yeah. It's happening everywhere. It's amazing. But I love the point that you were bringing up there. There's a few people been asking me about who've maybe been doing their first stage work and they've been saying, oh, how do I calm the nerves and how do I do this kind of stuff? And you kind of use that framework there of like switching. When we get overly nervous, we're making it about ourselves, right? It means we're worried about ourselves so much. But then I helped one guy, and he was actually there yesterday. I said, flip that lens to the other people. Think about, like, why are you there? He's like, I want to help these people. I'm like, great. So there's a line that says, switch nervous with service. So if you flip the lens, take it off you, which makes you nervous, and flip it to service, which is for them, you realise, wow, I'm here to serve. I have a gift. And like you said, how can I make this room better?
Yeah.
Which is such a beautiful thing. And maybe that played into why you were so grounded and ready to go. You're like, yes, this is a celebration moment for me, but this ain't really about me. This is about how can I make this room better?
Yeah.
Which is magic, really.
It's like I've told you guys before, I regularly chat with a coach who has helped me sort of change the framework in my head. So I'm one of these people who has grown up and has developed self-doubt and like what ifs and what's someone going to think of me. And I think the biggest thing I found with that is I still have those thoughts, but changing the thoughts in your head from like people are going to be judging you and then being like, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you change it to, or I'm going to be nervous, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you change that but to an and, it like softens that first, it makes the first statement less threatening. So you're like, yeah, I'm going to feel really nervous and I'm going to go a bit red and like feel a bit sick or like shake a bit, and I don't care. And I'm going to do it anyway because this is what I want to do. And if you like, that's the thing that as you get older, I think everyone learns eventually, right? But you have to do these things for yourself.
Yeah, totally.
And if you, like, you're always going to be the first person to get in your way. Like how you would have found it with your career, like when you start making decisions for you, but also that serve everyone else, how many doors open up and how many yeses you get and how many like, the fact you boys like cut at Menspire this year, just, can I borrow your space? Do you mind if these two barbers from Australia, borrow like the lead educating space, like have your branding in the background? Do you mind if I do that? And they're like, absolutely. But that's because you fucking focused on what you guys are about. Like if you were trying to be Menspire, they're probably like, nah, you're good, or you wouldn't even get in the conversation with them. But they've met you at a personal level and they can see that you're two guys that are incredibly comfortable in your skin and have like worked on yourself enough to be able to contribute to and make a positive impact.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think we're really trying to bring that across as well, and like, you know, that's why we relate so much to your content and relates so much to you as a person. It's like, okay, great, like there's somebody else who's kind of doing the same thing, because we haven't always been the way that we are now. At one point in time we were involved in all of the technical side of the hair and like the showmanship and the fancy words and all of that stuff. Whereas now we just go on with no stage preparation. It's just like, all right, let's talk about some shit, you know, that needs to be spoken about. And like from a place of love, you know, it's always from a place of, okay, we're on your side here, like we're here to help, you know, like how can we make this better for everybody? How can we make this more enjoyable for everybody? And you know, one thing that came up for me when you were speaking there is purpose. You know, when you're on the train and you're writing that stuff down, it's like, okay, now you know what your purpose is. Your purpose isn't to show people how good you are cutting hair. It's to show them that it's okay to be themselves. Yeah. It's like, it's all right to be yourself, you know? Like, people will actually get more value out of that than they will seeing another hair technique, because there's plenty of hair techniques. You know, the best hair cutters already exist. You know, like, that's the thing. Like, Josh already exists. Charlie already exists. Leigh already exists. You know? Like, all these people already exist. So it's like, what are you going to bring to the table? You know, what do you have that's interesting and different?
I think it's something that I've learned or realised, especially maybe yesterday more so than anything, purely because that was a very cold crowd for me. I didn't really know anyone there yesterday, just a couple of faces. It's how do we get that across in the messaging about, guys, we're for you, not against you, you know, because it's quite confronting stuff sometimes, isn't it? Hearing like, well, price is this and you're doing yourself a disservice and blah, blah, blah. It can be a bit confronting for people. They'll be like, who are these dickheads? But I think something that I really want to work on moving forward is how do I get that message across from a place of love? Be like, guys, we're for you. I just want to see you win. Like, I talk about raising your prices because I want to see you thrive, not just survive. Like, why? Number one, because I've done it. Number two, that's one of my purposes, is to help you guys for service. You know,
and it's so much more than just the price too, though. And like, we can't get that across on the stage, because the price point is generally a reflection of like self-belief and like our limiting beliefs. It's a belief thing. It's like, okay, you know, guys, you can do this and receive more for it. Like, your clients are investing in you then because they believe in something that you're doing.
The difference between worth and value. I actually, when you were talking yesterday, something came up when I was cutting my coach's hair, and we were speaking, like, when I love cutting his hair, 'cause it's like a little extra coaching session, because he's just in the chair. I have to get my phone because I had to message him to get the point across. But he talks about value is what people pay you. Worth is how you see and create yourself. So if you let worth lead value, it's a better way round of doing it than letting value lead worth. That's why we're seeing a struggle point or a pinch point with our prices. It's because like I feel like without leaders like you telling everyone it's going to be okay when you put your prices up, like people, I think the room is full of doubt, and like they're not sure how much they're worth because they've just been told that, because prices have gone up. When I first started cutting hair, and I've only been doing it 6 years, I was like 14 quid a haircut and I was getting half of that. So like you had to really dig deep and cut some hair to earn any money. And it has gone up, like people are seeing 20, but like it's gone up a bit. But when you talk about the growth that is happening in Australia, where people are just flying, and even in America, people are paying silly money for it. But that's because the people that are charging that money, they look at their worth being more than the value of a haircut.
I totally agree. We did a show in Amsterdam, which was slightly more curated than the ones we've been doing at the Barber Bash.
Is that when you didn't even have models?
So that was called The Art and Science of Pricing. It was a lot more curated, and we dug into like the psychology behind money, and there's, so some of our coaches say the same thing, like it's not a good idea to reduce your worth to a dollar value. It's not a great place to start. It's your worth is your birthright. You're born worthy. We're all worthy, and that's the great equalizer. Like we're all born worthy. Now your value, that's up to you. How that's very subjective. That's what you build, what you put on it, what you think the value exchange is, and that's why I love the emotion I was talking about yesterday. Didn't really have a lot of time to dig into it, but the emotion and the logic behind money. I like to come at it from a slightly more logical place, because a lot of people just get so emotional about their money, and because it's tied to a money story. What's a fair rate? What's the going rate? All that kind of stuff. So I love what you're saying there. It's not a great idea to reduce your self-worth to a dollar value. I hear it all the time. I want to charge my worth. I'm like, okay, but that's a very emotional stance to money. And are you sure you want to reduce yourself to that? Because even if you get £50 a haircut, well, that might become your limitation as well. Is that all you're worth? You're not only worth £50 per haircut, because one day that might be cheap too. Yeah. So I love what you're talking about there, and it's so true. It's so true. I think we need to bring the logic into what we're doing a little bit more. Look at it from a financial standpoint, not just, I want to charge my worth,
Yeah. The bit you touched on about emotion as well. Like if you look at what emotion is, like what that emotion is that's stopping you putting your prices up, it's fear. And then if you look at where to come from, I reckon if you boil absolutely everything down, there's two things that are important, and is love and fear, and to be aware of fear where it arises, but you have a bit more control over that. So you act from love, take the emotion out of your decision. So like the reason, so I'm in it now. I need to put my prices up, but the thing that's stopping me is my emotion, but it's just fear. It's like, what if I never see that client again? I'm attaching myself to this reasoning, rather than being like, this is where I want to go. And then it's stopping I'm stopping myself because of what ifs.
Yeah, and my advice to people is to just strike that happy medium. I think that's why I look at it like a scale, right? And emotion and logic, again, is like the masculine and the feminine as well. They're the energetic values, and they work best when they are in harmony. And I think if we go too logical, we can get a bit cold and forget everybody. And that's, I think, what a lot of people, again, fear comes in. Like, well, I just don't want to forget about everybody and see you later. I'm going this way, because that's too logical. You get a bit cold. But also, if you get too emotional, you can also get stuck down there as well. So I think when the two come together in harmony, it's like, look, I care about these people, but I do need to raise my prices a little bit. How can I put that together and bring everybody on a little journey with me? That's what we teach in coaching, is how to bring the clients on our journey. It's not us versus them. We see that a lot. People are like, well, I'm raising my prices, you got to put up with it. It's like, yeah, but that's you versus them. I was chucking the toys out of the pram and getting all up at it, getting emotional again. So yeah, we help people to bring their clients on a journey. But I think if we can, there's nothing wrong with being emotional about it. It shows you care. It shows it's coming from a place of love. But I think, a little bit of logic, kind of reverse engineering from the financial standpoint, is really powerful as well.
Yeah, 100%. I like what you're saying about the way people look at things is like it's an I and me rather than us and we. Like, I always think, like, if I start that comparison, you know, the thief of joy, if I start comparing what someone else is doing, of course I'm going to be like, oh, well, it's so unnecessary. Like, it's obviously good to, like, have a look at, see what everyone's doing, but if you're letting that, like, make your decisions for you, you're never going to be happy, because you're not doing it for you. You're doing it against something else. You're like creating your own friction.
Yeah, and it's the unknown as well. Like, you know, we get people message us all the time about, I want to raise my prices, or what should I price my haircuts at? And I'm like, okay, so how have you made your decisions up to this point? And they're like, I just looked at what everyone else was doing and saw what was going right. And my next question is, do you know how they got to that point? How they made their decisions? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay then, well, it's maybe not a good idea for you to do that, because you don't know what's behind their price point. Like, what's the rent on their shop? What's their overheads? What wages are going up? Blah, 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 blah. Like, I was speaking to the guys that I trained with, you know, many years ago back in Plymouth. They own the building that they run the business from. They're a third generation family-run hair salon. 77 years in business. They own the building. So their prices are slightly lower than, you know, maybe what we would like to see them do, but they can do that because their profit margin isn't affected by rent. Right. They don't pay rent. Genius. But for someone to look at them and go, and they're good at what they do as well, so but they're really good and this is what they charge. It's not a good idea for you to do that, because you don't know what's behind their pricing decisions. Mm-hmm. So again, we like to just bring people back to their own little bubble and be like, right, focus on the people that you have and bring them on your journey with you. And then it becomes its own little ecosystem. Mm. And I think it's something that, did you say on stage yesterday about client nurture? I think it's something that is massively overlooked in the barbering world is client nurture. Like, how are we making our clients feel like they are coming on our journey and being part of our ecosystem? Mm. I think that would reduce a lot of this mindset around people like, oh, well, if I'm bump my prices up, they're just going to leave. Yeah, it's like, but if they're part of your ecosystem and part of your world, I don't know if they will.
Yeah. The fear comes from, like, the fear of friction and confrontation. A lot of humans, we don't like fear. We don't like confrontation. We don't like friction. We try and avoid it at all costs if we can. You know, based on whatever happened to us as kids, like either with our parents or in school or whatever. So I don't personally like confrontation. It's not something that makes me feel good. But the fear comes from that, and I think, you know, the love and the fear thing is brilliant, and it's the awareness is what kind of gives us the decisions to be able to say yes or no in certain moments. But a lot of what Leigh was saying there's a lot of reactivity, or to follow up on what Leigh was saying there's a lot of reactivity in barbering rather than proactivity. It's like client nurture is proactive, you know, just putting your prices up out of the blue is very reactive. And it's almost like our clients then don't believe that we know what we're doing when that happens, because it's like, where did this come from? Like, I wasn't aware that this was going to happen. And then that's when they start to create their own stories, which is sometimes can be true, sometimes or most times aren't true, but they create their own stories. Everyone's the star of their own movie, you know? Yeah. When clients come in to get haircuts with us, it's like they don't think that anybody else has been there for the 2 or 3 weeks in between. It's like, I'm coming in and I'm the star of the show, you know, and then they leave and they go about their lives. And there's a term called sonder. Have you heard of that word before?
Not yet.
So the word sonder is, so Dermot Kennedy has an album called Sonder, but it's the description of it, or the definition of it, is like each individual is out there living as vivid, as complex life as you are. So like, sometimes we can get so caught up in thinking that, like, you know, the world is all about us, but everyone is experiencing that. And it's like, having that kind of awareness can be super useful when it comes to dealing with human behaviours, human conditions. You know, like we were saying at the start, it's very interesting to observe society, but like, having the awareness around that, like, you know, everyone is a star of their own movie. It helps me personally not make things mean stuff about me. If a client has a reaction to that's their thing, you know, now. So for example, I'm with more exposure and becoming very neutral to it all. Like yesterday when you guys, yourself and your brother, came over to chat to us afterwards, and you're saying, not everyone was kind of liking what you were saying on the stage, and there's a few people behind you saying this and that, and I'm just like, yeah, cool. I kind of expect that now, at this point. Yeah. But like, I know where it's coming from, right? Like, it's coming from that place of love. So it's like, I don't care what they say. Like, that's, even though they might not like it, they might need to hear it. Yeah. But the client nurture thing's huge, because look at all the big brands in the world, right? Like, they all bring us on a journey. They make us feel something about their brand. Yeah. Like, we're all addicted to Apple products.
Yeah, because you feel a part of it.
Yeah. It's the iPhone. It's like, they make you feel like it's your thing. Like, this is my phone. You know? How can we do that with the haircuts?
It's does that start with Y? Is that? Yeah, that's where that comes from. The whole, like, a brand is able to make you feel like you belong there. Like how Apple works, like the reason people buy a Mac instead of a HP is, you know, or someone, you know, I actually had the exact thing happen to me. We went into lockdown, and I was doing like a newsletter at the time, like doing a weekly like little report of my week, and we went into lockdown, and I was like, I need a laptop. I need to go and buy a Mac. I need to go and spend. We're just going into lockdown. I need to go and put a K down on a Mac. And I actually like delivered this speech to my wife about why I was about to spend $1,000 on a Mac, and she was like, "Go and get one." All right, yeah, fine. So I got this thing, and I literally, all I use it for now is to check my bookings. I haven't opened it for about a month, and it's like. But at the time, when I felt it was really important for me to like get one so I could be, a part of it. I was, literally exactly what you're talking about happened so for me.
Yeah. Totally. I had the same situation happen with my iPad, and it's the best thing that ever happened. I had to deliver the reasons to Hannah as to why I was buying this iPad, like sporadically, like
a PowerPoint presentation.
Pretty much, but even at the time, she was
new slide.
Yeah.
She was
see, if I had the new Mac, this would look even better.
She was even questioning it at the time, but fuck, I built 2 businesses. Yeah, very successful businesses off the back of that fucking iPad. So, you know, it works. But yeah, I think that the newsletter thing is big for our clients. You know, think about, like, there's 2 worlds, right, that people operate in. I'm sure you're experiencing this at the moment. You have your life in the shop and with your clients and your relationships with them, but then there's the barbering world as well. So now it's like striking the balance between both. Yeah. How are you finding that at the moment?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you have what you were talking about, you're like, I guess your core clients, you're like main guys that believe in what you're doing as well. The clients that come in through the shop, they're like loving seeing the journey that you're on, and they're like, so some of my clients are talking about like getting, because they like my videos so much, they're getting like random barbering videos up on their algorithm, and they keep sending.
One of my friends does that
too.
Like,
I've completely, by liking your stuff, I've completely fucked my algorithm up. But like I really enjoy the connection side of life. Like, I think it's a real, makes you feel like you're part of something enormous when you're talking to someone on the other side of the world, or you're talking to someone in your chair. Like, there's so many little stems of connection that are available all the time. And I think that's where I've certainly found that I grow as a human being, by just talking, connecting. Like, I know it's like cliche networking thing, but it is important, because it's like you get to then experience your life through a different lens just by hearing somebody else's point of view. So you get to, that's what I really find, both in the shop and online, a really nice place to connect. Yeah.
I love that point about the algorithm. My friend James, shout out to James, he's probably going to listen to this, but he said the same thing. He just texted me one day, he was like, I'm liking so much of your shit, I'm getting random barber videos pop up in my feed. He's like, can you make it stop? It's like, you do stuff in the hair work, don't you? You're big in the hair work. Can you make it stop?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I can't just turn it off, mate. Like, but yeah, it's really funny. But that connection piece is huge, right? Like, because let's face it, like our vehicle, let's just say, is social media for all of us here. Without it, we can't really do what we do. You know, I don't think yesterday would have happened without social media, really.
We wouldn't be sitting here, would we?
Wouldn't be sitting here, probably.
Really?
You know.
Or we would have met you in London anyway. But like, the chances of us being here doing this right now would have been much less if it wasn't for like connecting on social media and having that as a tool for that.
But I think, you know, it's in the name, isn't it? Like social, and we make a point of messaging every single new person that follows us, and I'm sure you probably do as well, just to make that connection. And the amount of people that say, "Wow, it's amazing to hear from someone who I've just followed and look up to." I'm like, well, it's in the name, really, isn't it? Social, like social media, like that's what I want to use it for, because it can equally be used for the opposite. Like, it can be a very lonely place. You know, and I love that you brought up connection, and yes, it's cliche, but like, why not use it for that? I think that's the beauty of it, is like, it's connection on a mass scale, but I'm not sure if a lot of people are using it for that. You know, it can become a very lonely and dark place for a lot of people. So it's beautiful to hear that you're using it for connection, and it's in the name, and I think that's probably originally what it was designed for. I'd say original Facebook was probably designed for the social aspect. Yeah. You know, and if we go back further than MySpace and stuff like that, it was a very social place. So I love that. It's brilliant
for guys to pull girls.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
An easier way,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yep.
Like, if we're to get back to the primal aspect of it.
How have you guys navigated like shitty comments that you've been going on? And I think
I love this one.
Yeah, I think it'd be.
Have you had some?
Yeah,
I bet you have.
Yeah. I made a video about, like, I see what it was. I had a couple of guys come in the shop and they stunk of weed, and I don't care. Like, that's your choice, and it does smell quite nice. And they came in, but there was, on a couple of occasions, there was like a kid there, or like, do you know what I mean? It's just like a bit of a. It was a very. You're just reminded of how, like, maybe unaware some people are of what, certainly of what they smell like. And they walk in the shop, and I thought, I'm gonna make just a video of this, like, maybe just to point out, so maybe someone that sees this might think next time, like, yeah, I did just literally dot a joint out on the door of the shop and come and sit down, like blowing smoke into the shop. So I made this video being like, shout out to all the hard bastards that turn up to the shop stinking of weed, and it went bananas. Like, it's one of my most viewed videos on my Instagram, and people are like, you're this, you're that, you're bald, you're fat, like all this, and they're like, you've got like wooden walls. They're talking about my shop being like, yeah, shout out to the barbers that don't paint. I'm like, okay. But it was I really did got like, I reckon if that happened, because I had a pretty successful TikTok like 2 years ago when I was doing like street stuff, walking up to people being like, I love your hair, where do you get it cut? And it went really well. Like, it was a couple of videos on like 1 million views, and I crapped it basically. I thought, I'm not ready for this much exposure because of like where I was as a person. But this time around, because I put so much work in with Callum and I've sort of explored getting to know my thoughts better and realizing they're not me, and having that ability to disconnect from that, I've been much better realizing when someone comments on a video, firstly, they're not commenting on you, they're commenting on a video of you that you're in. Secondly, they're not even commenting on you, they're just projecting their own insecurities and self-doubt and fear and all. So actually, any bad comment that's come in, even one like some guy, I might post a skin fade and there'll be a bit of a dark line where it's not like the butteriest blend ever, because it just hasn't worked out that way, that I've maybe like missed a bit of the zero line, that in a day's time it's going to look, but like, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm like I'm not trying on every haircut, but there might be, especially in a video, it shows up something that might not be there, or is there more? So people are like, you know, this is happening on your haircut. I'm like, I didn't fucking ask. I don't care. And like, it's their thing. That's them messaging on that. It's like, I can do better than that, but you're not. You're not. You're just you're messaging, and it's So it's been an interest this time around. It's been really interesting getting to know that it's it's nothing to do with me, these comments.
Have you ever heard of shadow work? There's a thing called shadow work, where it's basically like people's ability or inability to like see themselves, and then how they communicate with the world. It projects like their shadows onto things. So the things that they keep in the shadows that they don't like to see about themselves, they'll project onto other people. So for example, barbers do it a lot when it comes to commenting on people's haircuts. It's like, oh, there's a dark line there, or a dark patch there. It's like, yeah, because you at some point were unconsciously happy with one of the haircuts that you've previously done, that had a dark patch or a dark line there, and you didn't feel good about that, and you haven't worked through it yet. So it's like, there's a couple of people that, you know, we follow quite closely, and my girlfriend's really into this as well. But like, there's a saying, and this is a good one for the negative comments, but it's like, don't get lost in other people's shadow work, because it's like, that's your thing to deal with. You know, it's not nothing to do with me.
It's such a deep one, isn't it? There's so many angles to it, but I've had to develop my own frameworks around it, because some videos that you post, you know, they can be quite deep stuff, especially when it comes to like communication and consultation. I put up stuff like that, and people are very guarded about that kind of stuff and have their opinions. But I love something you said there. It was like, I don't post for people's opinion. Like, my purpose is to help people. Like, if I wanted your opinion, I'd ask you, but I find external help for that. I find my coaches and people like that for opinion. I'll ask them, blah blah blah. So it's funny when people just hammer their opinion on you, like that. Oh, the dark spot in your face. It's like, whoa, I wasn't asking for your opinion. I'm just posting shit for you to look, like for you to enjoy, you know. And I think it reveals the collective like narrative. You know, it reveals people are angry, they're pent up, and they've got somewhere to let it out, like the shadow work. But also, it's quite a scary thing, because if grown men have the time to leave shade on other people's stuff on an online forum, that's terrifying for the future of men. I think that's quite terrifying. It shows a lack of purpose, a lack of mission, a lack of love. Like, what you know, you or I are not leaving shade on people's stuff. We're just making stuff for people to consume. We're building businesses, but we're not going, oh, this is shit. I see loads of stuff that I don't like online, but that's not my place to say. Like, it's everybody's place to put whatever they want into words. Free speech. So it's quite terrifying, really. And I see it as that. That's what brings compassion. I'm like, you know what? I have to come back to love here. I have to treat this with absolute unconditional love. I have to. I now feel sorry for these people. I'm like, wow, you got so irate in yourself that you had to go and do that, and you had the time to go and leave that kind of hate. That's quite sad, actually. And it comes back to love, you know?
I also think it comes back to, we mentioned it earlier, the difference between being aware and it not, basically. And the people that are commenting on that maybe haven't discovered that they're not on that part of their journey yet, or like the awareness, like being aware of yourself and the fact that you're part of something much bigger that you can't understand is different. But I think that's where the work that you guys are doing, and certainly what like I plan to do with my audience, is show. I genuinely think, here, this is going to sound pretty cool, I think, but barbers can and will change the world from the ground up. And the reason I think that is because it is such a rare position for two people to be in, where you can make a connection and you make this person, while you're making them look fucking good, they then leave your shop and they feel amazing. And the more people that do that, and more people that leave a barbershop feeling amazing, will then spread that love onto the next person they meet, or the next 5 people they meet, the next 10 people they meet. More people that understand that a barbershop can be a place where you can literally start your life again and like come out absolutely buzzing. But the more barbers that realize that they actually, every single one of them has the power and capacity to change somebody's life, to impact them so positively. Like that's spread out. Every town has a load of barbershops. If every single one of those people in there were aware of the actual power each individual holds when someone's sat in your chair, the whole world becomes a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you're just preaching to the choir. Like we say it in all the time, but I say it in almost every like second post. I leave that in the caption. I say, barbers have the power to change the world. You just have to want to.
And just be open to it.
Yeah,
like,
and the only way...
Don't like shut it off, like, no, you just cut hair, mate, shut up.
And I think the only way you know that you want to is by doing the work on yourself. I think then that realisation, you have to do some kind of work on yourself to believe that you can.
But do you know what, like, to really believe a statement like that, you have to remove the hair from it. And that's the hard part for barbers. Because they can't remove the hair from it. Because...
So how are you guys going to do that?
So, for example, like, at a certain point, how somebody feels about themselves has very little to do with their hair. Like, before I got a haircut yesterday and after I got a haircut yesterday, pretty much felt the same. I didn't even...
For you?
Yeah, for me, right? Well, not for everyone, but for me. But that started somewhere, you know, with a conversation with somebody who then brought me to the level of awareness where I didn't need the haircut to make myself feel a certain way. So I would imagine at a certain point, people will come to you to see you, Ardy, for more than just the haircut. You know, even we spoke about that briefly with your brother yesterday. Yeah. So it's not necessarily even about the haircut at times. It's about the connection with the other human, and they're coming to see you. Yeah, like it's a general maintenance thing. Yeah, like of course we wake up and we maintain our lives. Like we look after ourselves, we look after our health. It's nice to get a haircut if you can get it, but it's not. They're not needing it for other reasons. Is where the power really comes.
Yeah.
If you can make somebody, again, going back to the worth and the value thing, it's like, you're worthy before I even cut your hair. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm not going to say, what do you like about your hair? What don't you like about your hair? What don't you like about... That's basically like, what don't you like about yourself? And let me try and fix it for you for 2 weeks until you need to see me again. It's like, that's not a sustainable way for people to feel great about themselves. But if you can come in and you can say, for example, what you're doing, expressing yourself authentically, having a bit of fun, having a bit of banter, having sometimes a deep conversation, you know, making them feel like, oh, like it's okay for me to just be myself. That goes far beyond any haircut. So like, barbers' biggest problem is they can't remove the hair from the situation, but that takes awareness. It even takes awareness to be able to see the world from a place of love and fear. Like, that's something that most people have never heard before. We're always acting out of love or fear, just the two things. Yeah. In every moment. But so that's a big awareness piece.
You both would have had a moment where you discovered your own awareness, or you became aware, should we say, enlightened, is that the term?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, because someone is going to listen to this, hopefully, and go, shit, there's more to what I'm doing than what I'm currently doing. What was the like trigger points for both of you? When I imagine they came at different times. When did that change happen for you? Like, normally there's like a thing that happens or a realization. What was it that made you more curious?
That's a brilliant question, and it's how long have we got? But I think for me, the catalyst. So the longer my life goes on, I was speaking to my brother about this. He studied philosophy and psychology, so we could go fairly deep on these things. And I think the longer my life goes on, the more I realised I've always been like this, to an extent. But life is allowing me to. Life is facilitating it for me for it to express more and more and more. And depending on where my life journey goes and the experiences that I have, I think it depends how strong it comes out. And I think leaving the UK was where it began. I was 20 when I left here. Oh, UK, England. We're in Scotland now, but England. And I'm 33 now. So it's been 13 years of like deep inquiry, of being able to think for myself away from the conditions that shaped me. And I think through different trials and tribulations, so I can remember there was a certain relationship that made me curious. There were like behaviours I didn't understand that I saw knew about, but actually experienced for the first time. There were levels of kind of unhappiness that I didn't really understand where it was coming from, even though I was so good at my job. I was really good at cutting hair. had loads of clients, was busy, all that kind of stuff, but I was still deeply unhappy and realised, wow, that's not the thing. Why is that not making me happy, if that was what it was? And I think, just deep inquiry. I've always been quite curious. I remember my mum and dad saying to me when I was a kid, like, you like asking why, don't you? They tell me to do something. Oh, I'll do that. And I'll be like, why? They're like, just go and do it. They're like, you love asking why, don't you?
I have 2 young kids, and I think that's just you. My kids never ask why all the time. They're so, why? Yeah.
So I remember that. And I think it's a great thing to have. And I've never been afraid to be curious. And then it's just deepened from there. I think the age that I was when the internet and YouTube came through was huge. I remember there were certain people when Instagram first came about posting motivational quotes and inspirational things. I was like, oh, this is interesting. In my early 20s, we're talking like 10 years ago, when things were starting to bloom. There's certain things that people that I latched onto. I was like, that's an interesting way to think. And then life just keeps showing me things that requires me to deepen my curiosity and to put myself aside and go, is there a more useful way that I can think about this? And then like Eoin's been touching on, we've done a lot of work with coaches. I've spent a lot of time with like Buddhist monks. There's a temple near me that I just go and do retreats with those and just get their insights. And it
sounds like what I heard from the bit that like the shift happened. I know you're saying you've always been very curious and aware of like something going on, but the change in environment really gave you like a new opportunity to explore the actual you.
100%.
So like loosening those shackles. So to me it sounded like there was this ball of potential growing up and living in England, and felt your own limitations because of the environment you grew up in, or like certain standards you've created for yourself, and then you all of a sudden have a chance to literally run around naked in Australia going crazy, and you've gone, well, I get to start again. And it's really interesting that the environment change is what harbored your
100%. And I think it released any judgment around thinking that way. That's what I see here. People, the fear of judgment will stop most people. The fear of like, because some people might hear this in England, Scotland, Ireland, wherever you're listening to it, and they go, I really resonate with that. But if I go and say that to my mates, they're going to hammer me.
They're not your mates.
Yeah, they're not. But they won't get, that the ego is fictitious by design. It will keep you safe. It will fall to your comforts, even if your comforts are killing you. That's what it will do. And it takes bravery and courage to actually break out of that. Now, what did I do? I left. So that was my way of going, I need to, maybe subconsciously I needed to cut the cord and remove that element of judgment so that I could experience life and think for myself and deepen how I thought about the world. I totally agree. I think that's what it was. Yeah, cut the cord.
How about you?
Yeah, for me, it was...
No, Robert. I love before we go on, I'll just touch on that. Like I love deepening that understanding of where it came from. Yeah. I'd really enjoy it. So thanks for asking. Anyway,
I think it's beneficial for people to like go after what they thought they wanted, to realize that that's not the thing that's going to make them kind of happy anyway. Like I did pretty much everything you can do as a barber. I've won all the awards, done all the work with brands, done all the stage shows, done all of the stuff, and I still didn't feel like fulfilled. Like something wasn't feeling great because there was still a wound that was open, So I think until I really realised that, and I was brought to that door of awareness by one of my coaches.
But I was a coach.
Yeah, it was one of the coaches that we were working with, really brought me to the door of awareness. Leigh was there when it happened, and I was just really sick,
crippled
after it. Yeah, like I was vomiting. I was like, I basically realised in that moment that my whole life has just been driven by a wound, and I was like, oh fuck, like this isn't going to serve me moving forward. Like I can't just rely on material things or like stuff outside of me for my own contentment or happiness or fulfillment. So that's where it kind of started for me. But if I didn't go after the things that I thought that I wanted, then I would never have got to that place, because I would have always thought, oh, it must be somewhere else, or it must be something else. And I still find myself somewhat caught up in it at times, but I'm less attached to it than I ever have been. So I think it really helps to zoom out and again get outside of like the barbering bubble and look at like what's happening in the world at large. And you know, that coach in particular that I worked with, it was a business group of like 300 business owners from all different industries, all different walks of life, had all different life experiences, and I got to like learn and live vicariously through them without having to walk the path necessarily into destruction, because a lot of them have like destructed their lives and businesses, and I was like, oh fuck, like I don't want to do that. Like I get to learn, but it just takes again being brave enough to like realize, oh fuck, I've got some stuff that I need to work on. And it wasn't easy, you know, like it was a couple of years there where, you know, nearly lost my relationship because of it, like a lot of different things, you know, because I was running away from the inevitable of like what I needed to deal with.
Yeah.
And that came from childhood. It came from like being young, and even up to the last week I was discussing this with my mother. You know, she's like, oh, you're always so hard on yourself, you know, with things. And it's like, yeah, you know where that comes from, don't you? And like she's like, that just doesn't come from nowhere, you know, like somebody being hard on themselves about certain things. Now look, it's very easy to focus on the negatives that come from that, because it's like, oh, I'm a people pleaser because I could never get the validation from my dad or whatever it was, right? And that's still true to a degree, even though I know he loves me, and like, you know, but he'll never tell me that like, oh, that's fucking amazing what you're doing or anything like that. So that's what created all of that stuff before. But what I also need to realize, and after going through the turbulent times, is that it also turned me into like the person that I am today. So I have to thank him a lot for that as well, because it's like it's created so much good in one way. But it was until that unconscious became conscious. Yeah, I was just living, thinking that that's just how it was. But yeah, that's kind of where that all started.
That last point you just made about your dad not giving you the recognition, even though you know it, right? And it seems to come up an awful lot. Like people are like unaware. Some people are aware they're doing it, but a lot of people are like unaware that they're trying to prove themselves to be more than they are. They're perfect as they are, but they're trying to prove to themselves more to get something like an external feedback from someone else. And often it's parents. And what I've learned recently is that human beings love a story. We like to create a narrative. And you've sounded like you've gone, you know, my dad's this certain way. He's like, you know, hard to get his approval. He'll never tell me he's proud of me. But like, strip that story away. And does your dad love you? Do you know he loves you? And that's enough. That's all there is. So like, yes, you can create this thing like, this is my driver, this is my motive, but actually, like, just realizing that you are enough as you are. You don't have to prove or be. The point you made about the baby. When a baby's born, you look at it and you just think you're perfect. And their face looks so peaceful because they haven't developed an ego, or like Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body, where you like collect all these stories and like bring it into you and use it as part of your like external shell. The person you meet is the ego first, but like when you strip all of that away and just realize that love is enough, you are enough, love is all there is. Sounds hippie to someone that's maybe not experienced that, like walked through that door or been shown that that's all there is, but I can speak from real experience. Like, I feel so comfortable with who I am now because I've learned that I'm never going to be more than who I am right now. The voice in my head has been with me the entire way. The relationship I have with that voice in my head hasn't always been a good one. I've always, even now there are moments when I'm filled with doubt or I stop myself from doing something. But the thing you can always come back to is like, that person's been with me the whole way. That person is me. I can create a beautiful relationship with myself. And you just end up making better decisions. You just when you come from a place where it's like, this is it. Then you get to like look around, you go, what can I impact in the next 10 minutes that's going to make my life better? And you just carry on that way. So it's interesting to hear you speak about that. And but the question I originally asked you was, we're talking about like for you, it's your environment, but for you, it was a relationship with someone who you'd brought into your environment, your coach. So it's all to do with like, it goes back to the connection side of things. If you're not open and willing to make a connection with someone, you just shut so much off of your, like, the potential in your life.
Something that we talk a lot about as well as like critical thinking, always having a gauge for like, is the life that you're living producing the results that you prefer to have? And I don't know if that's ever a question that most people ever ask themselves. Like, is the way that you think about yourself, what you're doing, how you think about others, how you judge others, how you love others, or how you love yourself, judge yourself, what you wear, what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, is all of that producing, from a full holistic viewpoint, is that producing the results that you would prefer to see in your life? And I think 90% of people would say no. It's like, okay, well, we've got some work to do. We've got something to look at. We have something to look at here. And we get to go back to all of those things and we get to look, is there a more efficient way I can do this? Yeah. And that is, let's just take that back to hair. That's what I realized in hair. I realized a lot of people were coming to me for confidence, because that's like a buzzword we hear a lot in the hair word. It makes me feel so confident. It does for a brief moment, and then it fades, so something that I love from like psychological models is like, how do we get lasting change? How do we get reliable, sustainable, lasting change? And I realized that the haircut, I didn't think the haircut was doing that. I thought I could help people in a deeper, more lasting change way. Haircut was nice, I'll give someone confidence for about 2 weeks until it grows out. But I realised
that in isolation is where it's difficult.
Yeah, it gets difficult. But for me, like, I realised the work that I did on myself, I realised, I could access sustainable confidence outside of that. I didn't need a haircut anymore to get my confidence. And that was, I was like, there's something there for sure. And that doesn't make what we do wrong, I think, or not worth it. I think it's definitely worth it. But the way I see hair now is a celebration of how good it is to be a human right now. We get to fart around with hair follicles the way that we do it. Incredible. Hasn't always been the way. But for us to pick ourselves apart and say, I don't like this, I don't like that, is not a celebration of how good it is to be. It's a celebration of we're just complaining about everything with a lack of gratitude for the world. So hair in the way that we do it now is such a celebration of how good it is to be a human right now, because we've come so far from like survival days, So that's kind of the lens that I spin it through, and especially when I was in the salon and working with my clients, like something that, back to the question you asked us about how do you guys do that in your world, for me it actually starts back to your point of connection, back to the consultation. I'm very careful about how I speak to my clients. I don't walk them into their pain. I don't walk them into their disempowerment. This whole thing of like, so tell me about how you feel about your hair today. How many people say, yeah, fucking fantastic today? 99% of people say, it's immediately negative. So I avoid walking them into their negative, walking them into their pain. Yes, it makes loads of money, but I'm again very conscious about what I want to put into the world. And that's why I'm very careful about that stuff. So I also agree with you. I say it all the time. I think barbering can change the world. We just have to want to. And how do we know when we want to? I think it's a point of realization. Like, what something in life is going to bring us to a point where we go, this isn't producing the results that I would like to see. Can I do it in a different way?
So how you make your money is more important.
It's not about like how much you make your money, how much money you make. It's about how you make it as well. And I would love to make money, my money, be paid handsomely through helping people feel empowered and love themselves and judge themselves less. I don't see why that's a bad thing, and I think that's what we have the power to do. We really do. But it's so hard because our industry is built on a layer of judgment.
So this tightrope, the whole industry is a tightrope between love and fear. It's like, that's what I think. And you know, we can't intervene with a world that we can't see. So most people are doing it unconsciously, and we have to have compassion for that. They don't even realise that they're doing it. It's not even a conscious thing. But it is happening. But it takes us to intervene with the world. We need to be able to see what's going on, and usually that starts with ourselves. Like, we can't remove the hair from the situation and make people feel great if we haven't made ourselves feel great without the hair in the first place. It's like, we can't teach people how to do a fade if you don't know how to do a fade. Like, it's the same thing. You know, first we need to do the work on ourselves before we can help people feel that level of confidence, or true lasting change confidence. Because
then we get to such a level of joy. Like, it's like that whole like Buddhist philosophy of like being close to everything but nothing controls you. You know, the place where I felt the lowest in my career was like, I was so close to the things that controlled me. You know, my career, the hair, the clothes, this people's opinion. It was all controlling me, and it was. Then it was the journey of how close can I be to those things without it controlling me, and I love that. I think that's what we can help people do with hair. Most people are controlled by the way that they look, for the judgment of others that most of the time they don't really care about. So part of my value, I think, to my clients is helping them to see themselves in a new light. Can you access confidence, love, non-judgment before you even walk in this door? Because I'm not going to judge you. Some people think they're paying for that, but I'm not going to do it, because I'm, again, conscious of what I want to put into the world. So I help people to access that before they even come in. Then when we put a haircut on top of that, it's an amazing experience. And that's just kind of where we're at with it. I would love to see people celebrate life more and find the joy in it more, rather than, oh, everything's bad, I need to change myself. It's like, we're going to go around in that circle forever else, you know?
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, and I do agree. Like, a lot of people do say that to me, like, we'll give people confidence for a moment, but it's like, do they have the awareness to build on top of that? You know, build on top of, oh, great, I feel confident now. Now what am I going to do good for the world? You know, because the butterfly effect of one person, I think, is about 400 people. So that's kind of what they've studied. The butterfly effect from one person is potentially 400 people. So I do think it has the power to do a lot of good as well.
I was just thinking then about if it was the haircut that made you confident, and if that was the thing that made the difference in your life to make you confident, then like bald people would just be dragging their feet around, heads down, like, whereas like it goes to show how unimportant your hair actually is. People you'll hear it, I don't know if you would have heard it before, but like people will say when they're losing their hair, they'll go, oh, I can't shave it off yet, I haven't got the beard for it. Like, they feel they need more than what they've actually got. Whereas actually, like, I use this example with guys that are losing their hair in the shop who are really worried about it, and I say, look, if I chopped your hand off, are you still you? They're like, yeah. I'm like, what about if I chopped your arm off, are you still you? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so what does your hair matter to you? It doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change how you think. You can attach your own story to it and make up why it's important to you. And you can say, I haven't got the head shape for it. I'm yet to see anyone with a bald head that doesn't look class, especially if they go and get it cut. Like, if they have, they don't leave the bit behind their ear because they can't see it. But if I've got a load of clients that come in and just have a grade all over, and every single one of those people look great. They look so much better than when but it goes to show how unimportant your hair is. Yeah. It's how you feel about yourself.
I'm committed to, like, I'm never getting a hair transplant. I'm never getting a system. A good one. I'm never getting any of that shit, because that's, to me, after doing the work that I've done, that's a resistance of reality. You're trying to change, again, the external to hopefully heal the internal. It's not going to work. On a deep level, it's not going to work. Like, what really works is just accepting reality and just being like, you know what, like, this is just the way it is. If my hair was meant to stay on, it would have. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And it's not any different because it isn't. Like, if my hair was meant to stay on, it would have. Yeah.
Peter Crone says that, there's a psychologist, he says, the more we resist what is, the more we suffer. So it's a resistance of what is which causes our pain. Yeah. and maybe there's the body's trying to tell us different things. But there's also in that, they call it the life equation. So they talks about this thing, the life equation, right? So a lot of people try and alter their external world to hopefully heal their internal world. It happens all the time. Oh, it's the hair, it's the beard now. Oh, it's the clothes now.
That's the reason I wear cool clothes. I think someone's going to see me and be like, he looks cool. Doesn't fucking matter.
but it
doesn't mean not to do it. Like this is the other side of things. With awareness, like there's pre and post transformation. And then it's like,
it gives it a totally different
when we can see it, it's like, all right, I still am choosing consciously to have nice things. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's when it's unconsciously, it's
we change the relation from want not need.
Because then you'll always be controlled by it otherwise.
And you can take it one step further, change the word want to prefer. Prefer is even softer than want. Prefer means I'm okay if I don't get it. And that's I think that's the beautiful way to look at life, and it goes full circle. Everything we've really spoke about in this whole conversation comes all the way back to a place that we like to call conscious choice. Now, if we can walk the earth with conscious choice, not letting an unconscious story lead us through pain and wondering why this is happening, I think then we live a very powerful life once we get to conscious choice, because that's the great kind of equalizer between nothing's wrong here. Getting your haircut is fantastic when it comes from a conscious place. Wearing the great clothes is fantastic when it comes from a conscious place. Getting the sports car is great when it's consciously chosen. If it's unconsciously chosen, that's you not leading your life. That's a life that's led for you. And I think that's where I think our industry will start to blossom. Well, it's that conscious choice. I think it's going to be beautiful once we get to that point.
It's interesting because, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, and I don't mean it as a dig, but it's like it's the blind leading the blind a lot of the time, because there is no conscious choice in it. And our industry is seen as such a low barrier, easy entry job, because people pick like the whole thing from the very top. Like the big companies, they've created an industry of disempowerment to keep people in a cycle of needing something. That's what it is. It's like I've spoken to barbers over the years who say, I've heard barbers, I've listened to them with my own ears talk to people about, you know what you should get like SMP or a hair system, because like you're going bald and you don't want people to think about you like that, and it's all like a manipulation to get the person to come back. It's the opposite to what we spoke about at the start, about you just being you, like, and authentically being you. It's like trying to control somebody else to hopefully get them to give you money. It's awful. It's an awful way of going about the world.
It's actually terrifying the deeper you go in the psychology of it. Have you ever looked up the top traits of a psychopath?
Here we go. This is here we fucking go.
We go there now.
We've
just that, now we've broken the surface. The top trait of a top trait of a psychopath is manipulation. So,
like most barbers are psychopaths.
but here we are.
I'm gonna have a wee. You can talk about the psychopaths. But.
Yeah. Mate, I remember when I was getting my hair cut, it would have been like 2014 probably, when I had some hair. I remember it so well. Like I had no idea I was going bald, because I wasn't a barber at the time. I knew I had like a recession here and here. Don't know why I need to take my hat off to show you that. But I just remember looking in the mirror, and my barber picked up the front of my hair to cut it, and it looked thin, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on up there? Like, am I going bald?" And he's gone, "No, mate, no, you're all good, you're fine." And I just think that's such a funny, it's such a funny response for your barber just to openly lie to your face, like, "You're not going bald, mate. You're going to be in 2 weeks' time. Loads of hair. It's thick as, no worries." And it wasn't, and then I obviously looked at pictures, and I was like, I've been going bald for years. Like,
I've just realised.
I just pulled the plug way, but even then it was earlier, a lot earlier than a lot of people I see that they just cling on for dear life with this because they think it's important.
Yeah, but who's giving them that importance too? That's what we need to think about. Like, who's made it important? Somebody who's trying to control them and take their money. Like, and I can't get my head past that. With some barber strategies is disempowerment. That's the strategy. Is like, let me make this person feel shit, and then I'm going to be the one that brings the confidence.
I'm the saviour. And then we move into the saviour complex, and then there's the archetypes of that, and it's like, oh my,
it goes deep. It
just goes layers and layers. We could just keep going and going, and I think, but you have to go deep into the dark to bring it light again, and the light bit is love. I think if you just that lens of love, and what I'll pair love up with is non-judgment as well. This is huge. Non-judgment, I think, is one of the only ways we're going to heal the modern world. Now, we need a level of discernment, 100%. We need to discern what's probably a good idea and what's not a bad idea. But this whole judgment piece, I think, is destroying us right now. And I think pairing up a loving lens with a non-judgmental lens, I think, is really what's going to heal us. I think if we could bring that into the barbering world, especially for men, and I know women go through it enough, but I think they're going to have their own processes. But for men, I think if we keep judging men in the way that we do, now it's about the way that they look, and I just think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
I heard, listen to the Johnny Barber, the podcast you guys did on the way over, and there was one bit that really stuck out to me. Was he said, I hope the industry gets better or changes, or I hope it gets good again. And I feel like the leaders of this industry, your Joshes, your Hayden Cassie, Alan Beak, Johnny Barber, like Charlie Gray, all these big names, not even just them, everybody can hope that something gets better, or they can take action and make it better. And I think that I remember listening to it like, wow, like such a powerful influence on so many people is just hoping that the place gets better. Wouldn't it be cool if you just went, here you go, here's my offering. This is how you make the space better, by contributing and just moving stuff around. The space exists already, and you can keep it the way it is, or you can make it a brand new space. And that doesn't have to take a considerable amount of time. That can just happen through action now. Like I said in Ireland, like we all have the potential in the room to live the life you want and to change the world. It starts with you.
And I love what you said. And right now, I was listening to a podcast just yesterday. I was joking with Eoin. I was listening to a Zen master called Thich Nhat Hanh. And if you ever want to listen to some Zen master stuff, he's really good. But he said this thing: there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the way. There is no path to enlightenment. Enlightenment is the way. And what is he proceeds by saying, and that can happen right now.
Yeah.
Every next step you take, it can heal you.
Yeah.
And I love it. It can happen right now. And what do you say about hope all the time?
Well, hope's not a good strategy. It's not a good strategy. I don't think the industry leaders in that form are going to change it. I think it's more like yourself and what we're trying to do. I think that's going to help more. Like you were saying about the barbershop ground up, right? Barbers have the opportunity to change the world. The problem with the guys at the top is they can't see it. So they can't intervene with a world that they can't see. Their whole income relies on the way that it is.
Sure.
And I mean that in the nicest way to them, but it's like it serves them in the current way that it is.
Yeah, it's evidence-based results, right? So rather than going off of needing evidence to start something, just have a crack, play on. Yeah.
Yep. And then it's more relatable too, right? Like at a certain point, it's like some of the people who have the deepest impact in the world don't have the biggest following. And some of the people who with the biggest following have some of the deepest impacts on the world, but like not in a very positive way. Like they're bringing more comparison to the world than anything else. It's like, oh, I'm not like this person, I'm not doing a haircut like him, or I don't have an ass like Kim Kardashian, or I don't have lips like that, or my face doesn't look like that. Like girls, it's crazy. So I've got a post, and I've said this on a few podcasts now, I need to actually develop it, but it's like the industry leaders could be leading us astray. It's not. I think it's important for us each individually to get clear on what our purpose is, so that we can discern whether or not we actually want to follow them or not. Just because they're leading doesn't mean we have to follow them. And that's the big difference, because like if we haven't understood our own why, we're just following them without purpose. So for me, that's big. And when we get clear on our why and like our own purpose and why we do things, it's very easy to look at something, take what you can, take what you will from it, but then just either leave it to the side and leave them do their thing, and then just keep doing your own path, or say, hey, I really like what you're doing, let's do some stuff together and work together and try and make this thing a bit better for everybody.
Yeah. You look lost in thought, Andy.
I did. I was reminiscing on the comments piece. I love what you were earlier when you were saying, how do you deal with people with comments? I don't know why this just came back in my head. I was reminiscing over this conversation. It's been a great conversation, but I think I would love to see you do this too. Do you follow Alex Hormozy online?
Maybe.
He's like this big kind of business dude. Anyway.
Oh yeah, the guy that wears the...
Yeah. So he had a full 15-minute podcast on how to deal with negative comments and haters. And he's got a great one. He's got this like 4-step framework on depending on what level of like uppance you want to go to. And I love the first two. First one is agree. So if they say, Ardy, that fade was a bit shit. I know, mate, it's terrible, isn't it? Just agree. That's the great flatliner. It's like, then what can they say? It completely kills the conversation. Like, yeah, you're right. It's terrible. And then he says the next one, he's like, agree, and then one up it. So you say, out of all the things you could have picked that was the one. Yeah. You're like, you should see the state of this. You should see the state of this. And
see the stuff I don't put on Instagram.
Yeah, like, wow. Yeah, he was crying after that. Like, I used to see the state of him. And I love that. I think, yeah, it's just, who cares? It brings a bit of lightness to it. And I think that could get really funny on your part. You know, you'd be like, yeah, that was a shit haircut. You should have seen the one I did before that. Fucking even worse.
Well, I've done a couple of videos where I'm like, I'm going to transform this guy. Like, that was one of my first on this new Instagram page. The first viral one I had, I guess one that went really well, was like, I've got Bobby in the chair. He's got really strong growth patterns. He's got like cowlick through here, really jumpy crowd. And I'm going to show you how to get this make this absolutely perfect. And I just fuck it all up. Or the other ones, I'm like, I'm going to do a massive transformation. Like one of my little clients, he's, unreal hair. And then I'll clip to being like, well, fuck that up. Like, but yeah, here's another one that I did that was nice. Like,
yeah.
It's, but it's just like a way of, I think if you make your posts like really mean something that's, or if you attach yourself to your post, like your guys, you're pretty serious in the content. The content you're delivering is like, it's education. You're making people better. So that's an amazing thing. But if you then start going, if I'm getting attacked and you make that video, if you attach yourself to these videos, then that's where like you can get lost in these damages, right? Whereas mine's just a laugh. But if someone attacks me, I'm like, you're not attacking me in the slightest. That was my point when we're talking about dealing with haters. And that Alex guy, I wouldn't even entertain it. That's what I think. Like you can, like, it's really cool.
He said, I think that's another part of it is like,
just leave it. Like the ultimate level is just ignore it. Just be like, oh, cool.
Because where does it go? Where does it get better? Like if you do be like, oh yeah, you should see this. Like you're entertaining a fucking idiot.
You're giving it airtime.
But the prerequisite, I think like the prerequisite of putting content out in the first place is like you're going to potentially get some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't ask the questions if you don't want the answers. You know, like it's like, don't put up the content if you don't want somebody. Yeah. Like it's part of it in a way. Like we're putting it out for anybody to see.
Who said it the other day? Someone said, I may have heard it from, I can't remember, but they're like, if you're going to start creating content, get comfortable being hated, or like get used to not pleasing everyone in the room. And it's like, once you're like, oh, okay. Like if this person here is saying, what I did for a test a few months ago is I went on, Josh LaMonica, he's like the top of the pile for education. He's like, every barber knows who he is and mentions him in like, he's in the conversation for every type of hair, right? Mm-hmm. And I went on one of his posts where he's like, he's talking something, and to him it makes perfect sense because he believes in what he's doing, but he's saying something that not everybody's going to understand. He's delivering his best thing. It makes sense to him, but there'll be so many people in the comments being like, oh, it's fucking cut you, Wally, like, what are you fucking doing? Like, what are you talking about? And you're talking to a guy that like, even Josh LaMonica, who is in so many people's eyes perfect is still getting fucking slammed for being a wally.
It's part of it. Like I actually look at it now as like, you're doing it well if people are saying that, because it's meant to be polarizing. Yeah. Like anything is meant, like marketing and content is both to attract and to repel. It's not to just attract.
Yeah.
It's to do both.
Rick Rubin says it well, doesn't he? It's like, if you're not dividing the crowd, you're probably not doing it well enough. You know, when you stand for something, you stand against something else, you know, and if you stand for nothing, it's just a free-for-all. And I love that. You know, it's in any art form. If you're not dividing the crowd, you might not be pushing hard enough. I really like that. And I think it's important. And what it does, it just reminds me that, number one, I'm posting on a open to everybody free platform, so I can expect it, right? It's like me walking outside naked. Well, I can expect people to laugh because, you know, look at me. No, but like, but if it's a free for all, it's like a free for all. It's like, well, what did you expect?
Yeah.
You know? And it just reminds me that people are human. People have got opinions, and we're all walking stories, and that's just how we are. And if we put ourselves out into that environment, then that's probably what we're going to get. So
I like Rick Rubin. He's cool.
He's great. Yeah, he's really good. I love
the Creative Act book he's got. He's got that whole chapter on the audience coming last, and it makes you realise, like, actually, who is this for? Yes, I want to change the world. Yes, I want to like impact my clients. I want to make my audience bigger, better. You know, open more doors. But like, your calling is where that comes from, and the most important, like, when you feel the best about a haircut, if we're just talking about haircuts, or you feel the best about that when you've finished it and you've done it, and like, it's ready to go. Like, you've the process of putting it all together is like you're in the moment with it. You're nice and peaceful when cutting hair, and when you finish it, that's it. Like, you're then ready to put that out to the world. But actually, it doesn't matter because you've already experienced that. I think that's it. Then you post it, and it doesn't matter because what you're happy with, the haircut you're happy with that you posted to the world, it doesn't matter what comes back because it's come from a place of completely.
I think it's a beautiful reciprocal cycle. I think, you know, all of this is a selfish act. Like, you know, and in Buddhist philosophy, they say the same thing. You know, you serve others to serve yourself. You serve yourself to serve others. It's a reciprocal cycle, and it's a beautiful cycle. Why not? How else is it going to be? And I don't think we can remove ourselves from that cycle because we are the antenna for our own feelings. Like, we can't remove ourselves from that. It can't be just for everyone else, and I don't think it's all just for us either. It's a beautiful reciprocal cycle. This whole world is one big relationship. You know, if you want to get deep and kind of spiritual about it, that's kind of God getting to know himself. He can only know himself through through relationship. That's the only way.
It's the universe experiencing itself through different
exactly.
lenses.
It's just via relationship, and I think it's a great
piece.
But I think it's a beautiful reciprocal cycle, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And then when we get to consciously choose the lens that we do it through, it can be a beautiful thing.
And like, that's the thing, right? Even we find a conversation like this super interesting and stimulating, but like, some people might have turned the podcast off already.
Yeah, gone to sleep.
And like, that's fine, because like, we're trying to build a community, create a platform where we're attracting and bringing people into our world that want to be in our world. And we're trying to also repel the people who aren't meant to be.
Yeah,
like, the goal isn't for everybody to love us.
Sure.
It's like music artists, you know, not everyone loves Taylor Swift, but she's fucking smashing it.
She's doing alright.
Yeah, she's doing alright. So regardless of whether people like her or not, she's doing her thing and she's doing alright, and she's got her people that do love her. And, you know, if you look at all of the religious kind of scriptures and writings and philosophies, Jesus was the same. Polarized people. Even his own people fucking hated him. But like, look at the ripple effect and impact that's had on the world, you know. So it's like, sometimes that's just part of the game. The hate is showing us that it's actually working. It's like, this is working.
Do you think if he had worse hair, he'd be less popular?
Probably.
What if he had some gammon-faced baldy going, "Oh, listen up, love it."
Or drink this wine.
I'll just turn this into. That was water a minute ago.
Was it though?
Yeah, totally.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I think what's beautiful about this conversation as well is that people might not expect it, because they like that they only really see, most people will know you for the funny videos and the different things, and it's like they only really see that side of Ardy.
Yeah.
But it's nice, you know, for them to know that there's a lot more to it. And the moment we met you in London, we felt that straight away. It was like, okay, there's a lot more to this.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to Ardy than what meets the eye.
In my head, meeting you, have I told you how that version of events went for me?
No, well, kind of, but I haven't got an idea.
I had a crazy day. It started when I left the house, or even before getting ready, and I basically didn't stop until a certain moment. So I got to the event, met a load of people, cut hair, like flying around, and it got to a point of the day I was like, dude, you need to take a second and enjoy this. Like, this is the fucking coolest thing you've ever done. People coming up to you all day and saying hello and cutting hair in front of people, and like, I was like, you need to go and sit down and enjoy this. Like, go and take yourself out and just take a second. And it was that moment you guys came over. Like, I was just like 5 minutes into just chilling, and then you guys came over and like, how you doing?
Yeah, you were eating, why not?
Yeah, and I just remember being like, if I didn't do this, I wouldn't have met in my opinion, some of the most important people I've met in my career so far. Like, I was like, this is just a sign of when you do something for yourself, good things happen. And sure, I was excited to meet everyone there. Like, it was the first time I met a lot of people there. But chatting with you guys in that moment, I was like, man, this is right where I need to be. And these are the guys I need to be speaking with, or not need to, want to be speaking with. And it just, I noticed it on my journey on the way back. I was like, if I didn't do that, we might have had a conversation in a busier room, or people flying around us, or it wouldn't have been as nice, I think. And that was for me, it was like such a reason to carry on doing what I'm doing, just because good things like that come out of it.
That's it. We're exactly where we need to be. It's like serendipity. Have you heard of that word? Serendipity. I love it. It's like just knowing, and like there's a trust in knowing that, okay, we're exactly where we need to be at all times. Like, and that served me so well. I learned that through that coaching space as well, where I was healing the wounds. It's like, oh fuck, every situation and circumstance that presents itself to us is for us to evolve and grow. And like, there's a level of faith and trust that has to come with that. That's like, okay, I'm exactly where I need to be, even if it's in the place that you don't particularly like. What in it is the lesson? Like, what? There's lessons everywhere. Some people see them, some don't. So yeah, that was pretty cool. That was one of the highlights of our day as well, I reckon. On that day. Yeah. It's not like, sometimes you meet people and you just know you can go deep, like straight away.
We went straight there.
Yeah.
Well, but that's my memory of it. You kind of brought it up in that moment. I remember you said you'd had like fucking 7 coffees or something, and you'd been rushing around all day, and we immediately kind of got into like regulation mode. But and that's where the conversation started. And I think, imagine if your day didn't go that way. We might not have ever started the conversation that way. It might not have gone where it went. And like you said, could have been different time, different room, different thing. And it might have just been a passing hello, So it's really beautiful. Yeah. I'm glad it happened that way.
Very serendipitous.
Very serendipitous.
It's very serendipitous. So what's next for Ardy? What's the... apart from World
There's a Netflix special coming. Surely.
No, I like the fact that it's never finished and you can start again whenever you want. So like, what's next for me is to go and walk around Glasgow and enjoy that time with my brother before he moves to Canada next month, and I don't see him as regularly. That's my most important thing. But I guess the angle you're trying to get at is what's next for my career, or what I'm going to do. And my thing with barbering has always been, as long as it's fun, as long as I enjoy what I'm doing. The minute I'm worried about what I need to post or what I should be posting is when I'll just stop doing it. But when it's coming from a place like, I'll see something and see if there's anything there with the video, and then just keep doing that. I've always been interested in creating. I like the fact that I'm comfortable knowing that I'm funny and I can share that, and not everyone's going to think I'm funny, but a lot of people do. And so I know that I can make people laugh, and that's important to me, that I can bring happiness to other people, just like short fleeting bits of laughter. So I'd like to keep doing that, but I'd also like to explore helping other barbers realize their own potential. Like I love the fact that you guys do what you do. I think it's really cool that you are in an education space, but it's not focused solely on the hair. Like that, you're both brilliant at cutting hair, and you can do that, and you can show people the difference between layering and graduation, and how to create a silhouette, and how to like all the stuff you talk about. But then you, on a deeper level, you're focusing on the human that's cutting the hair, rather than like outcomes of easy. Like cutting hair is fucking easy. All you have to do is look at it and understand it. I say it, so I don't say it lightly. It is hard to get fucking brilliant at cutting hair, but generally speaking, you can get absolutely fine at cutting hair pretty easily. But the difficulty is the next part. Like how do I grow as a human being, which will then help not just my hair cutting ability, but everything. So I'd like to open up that side of, like you said, a lot of people online only see one side of me. I'd like to maybe explore, I'm going to explore sharing good ideas about how to make a difference in your own life that will help you become a leader and build your own audience and affect your own community. I think that's where the direction I'm heading in is. Just act from love, listen to my calling, listen to what I want to do, and like feel the fear and do it anyway.
That's beautiful. I think I love the point of like you can just start again anytime, like because you are you ultimately. It's like that's the thing, right? Personal brand is something that I speak about a lot, and it's more important than what you do, because like who you are is way more important than what you do, because like, what you do next can be completely different, but you're still Ardy. You still have the same set of values, you still have a similar purpose. It might evolve and change slightly, but you're still you at your core. And like it's going to be exciting. I was thinking about that yesterday when we came off stage and we were talking with yourself and your brother, and he was saying something along the lines of like, it's so cool to see like this whole scene and like seeing you in it, and like what's going on and what's going to happen next, and who knows what will happen next.
The cool thing about that is he was taking stuff, like what you were talking about. He's like, that's fucking good. That's like, that's gold dust. That's nice. Yeah, I like that. Like he's not a barber. He's like not that way. I couldn't cut hair to save his life, but he's listening to two barbers talk about them, and he's going, I fuck with that. That's interesting. I think that's how you make barbering cool, is by making it like, because people that don't, I compare barbering to like tattooing. People who don't like, here's a point actually. So no one fucking knows the best barber in the world. When your client sat in the chair, you ask them about Josh LaMonica, or you ask them about slider cuts. They don't have a fucking clue. But you ask a guy with a sleeve who the best tattoo artist in the world is, or list your top 5 tattoo artists, everybody knows. And the difference between tattooing and cutting hair is like, that's been made cool by expression. So like, the more we express, the more people know about how talented some of these people are, the cooler barbering gets. Then you bring in more people that don't have anything to do with cutting hair, but they're interested in a haircutting show.
We gauge it off that. When your brother said that, that's like the best bit of feedback we could get, because it's like, well, it's cool. More than just the hair audience.
Yeah, you're making it cool. Also, I think I need a face tattoo now. I've got over 10,000 followers on Instagram. Big like Mike Tyson vibes. Oh, actually, apparently,
or just K next to your eye. Ardy with the K.
Yeah, that's nice. That's going to be me, I think.
So it's exciting, man. Like, that's what I was taking from yesterday's conversation after the stage, is like, and in that moment I look at you and I don't see you doing what you're doing now forever. I see it going into a deeper place, and helping people, like you were saying, realise their potential, or going down the coaching route, because you're thinking about it on a deeper level. So it's like, it's going to go to that level. But I love that you're following the fun as well and keeping it enjoyable, because like that's massive. Because at a certain point, it's like, is this working? Am I getting what I need from this? Am I getting what I want from this? Are the people around me also having fun? Like, and if the answer is no, something needs to change.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, keep doing you, man. Keep doing you. It was a pleasure having you on Unlimited.
Mate, what a treat.
I know. And Unlimited, you know, again, just to kind of touch on the meaning of it for us, is like, we're trying to create a life for ourselves that's without as many limits as possible. You know, limiting beliefs, limiting mindsets, unlimited money, whatever it is, so that we can help other people do the same. And we're trying to get people on, like yourself, to help people get past their limits and really realise their potential. So,
well, I'm honoured, boys. It's an absolute pleasure to chat with you and spend this time doing what's important.
Absolutely.
100%.
Let's bring it in. Bring it in, everyone.
I wasn't sure my knees were going to work.
Appreciate it, man.
Love you, boys. Well done.
That was cool.
Stay unlimited, team.